right, let's start off with the first headline. And this one comes from Punch. Cholera hits Kirikiri prison. Katsina records 118 suspected cases.
When we last spoke about the cholera, it was relatively few cases confined then to Lagos. And I commented about how astonishing it is that cholera is making a comeback in our time. But then I also said, maybe I shouldn't be so astonished because the conditions for cholera to come about were ripe. We don't have running water. We do have some overcrowding. We don't have proper sanitary conditions and all that. And today, they're recording more cases inside Kirikiri and in Katsina, 118. Think of the distance between Lagos and Katsina. That cholera, antigen did not just jump up floats and go to Katsina. Everywhere along the way, it must have spread. Kirikiri has a reputation, unfortunately, as being rather overcrowded, like so many other prisons in Nigeria. So Kirikiri, I am very concerned that it might spread through the entire facility if care is not taken. The health authorities have a serious responsibility. Even somebody who is incarcerated has to have their rights and health properly preserved. So the authorities really need to get up and sort it out as fast as possible. Try and identify who's sick, try and isolate them, in some other kind of facility, make sure that they are made well before bringing them maybe back into the general prison population. But it goes back to the basics. To what extent have we successfully, in 64 years of nationhood, provided proper, hygienic, potable water, running water facilities for the people? That's really, we can talk about the disease now, but I don't think cholera is rife in the Arctic Circle. Yes, you know why? There are not many people and it's very cold, but it's not even common across West Africa. It's not common across the tropics. So it's not just because of where we are, it's how we have managed where we are. It's a serious situation where we must reach out to our authorities. There were these health inspectors and health inspections that used to go on. There was a time, even in this Nigeria, we used to have the famous sanitation. To what extent are we doing it? I know it's not lawful to trap people in their houses for 3 hours on a Saturday, but as people, are we taking care of our environment, not just on a Saturday, but on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all the way through the week? This is a very serious disease, and it's relatively simple. It's not like, as I said, not like Ebola or the other one that everybody kept social distancing, but it also can cause deaths. Some parts of the country have not yet reported cholera. I hope that they stay that way. But honestly, let's look after the lives and safety of those prisoners and ensure that they are kept safe. Just because you're in prison doesn't mean you should be victimized by avoidable diseases.
Now, moving on to the Vanguard newspaper, where the headline comes really closer home as much as cholera is closer home also. We find this one, the headline from the Vanguard screaming, gunmen abduct 20 travelers along Shagamu-Ijebu-Ode Expressway. How close is this for comfort?
That is absolutely alarming. We hear of stories laced with insecurity around the country in general, and especially, unfortunately, in some of our northerly neighborhoods. To hear that 20 travelers, maybe the contents of one or two minibuses or a few cars, up to 20 were kidnapped along a road that some people are traveling on right now, listening to this studio, is very concerning. They said somebody was even shot in the knee. So these were armed and they were ready to do damage to life and property. Some people were taken into the bush, and it is a major concern about how insecurity has spread. Just a few days ago, I think the president announced that he had taken care of security in one of the regions of the country. That may be the case, or he may feel that way, but I wonder how we would feel about hearing this coming up. And it's not a good portent. It's not a good omen. It isn't sounding something that should make us rest on our laurels. Our security forces, our police, our civil defense have been doing everything they can under difficult circumstances. Recently, they said they took in new intakes to train and put on the streets. Then there was a controversy involved with that. I don't know about the controversy, but we need better training and better equipment support. Human beings have a pulse. We radiate heat. There are drones that can detect human personnel even under cover of trees. Can we please purchase and deploy those types of equipment, call them drones, for which it's possible that for the cost of one single bulletproof SUV, we can get 3 or 30 drones. I would say that's a much better way of spending money on keeping the people secure than wasting it on giving one member of the National Assembly one more toy to play with. So I hope that our security forces can swing into action, detect where these people are, and rescue all of them safely. And that person who has their knee shot, I don't know how their life might be changed. I hope that they are not going to be, disabled from this on. But the person took a journey, and look at what has happened to them. Let's thank God they're not dead, though.
No, just before we rest this story, but equally, just to mention the app over the weekend in Borno, Woza precisely. And so, one as a security operative in Nigeria, how many battles are we exposing our security operatives to, and how much more can they really take?
It goes without saying that our security infrastructure is highly overstressed, overstretched, and frankly, overburdened. No, security incidents should happen sporadically, on occasion, then everybody can focus there. But security incidents or insecurity incidents seem to be routine in this country, and that is absolutely a negative on balance for news about the country and for the spirit and mentality. The mental health of Nigerians is highly under stress, and not only or just because of the economic situation. You don't know now. Do you know, I travel on these roads quite a bit. There was a time you would enter some of the major, bus services, and you could literally find nowhere to sit. People were so many. Now you go there, these buses are empty. They can't move because they're waiting. People can't even afford travel. Now think of these people traveling between these two cities, these two towns, and they're abducted. So you put your hard-earned money together to make a trip, and suddenly you are subject to kidnap. I think we must get back to root causes and also support our security people much better. Those people in Borno, it's not enough to know that that has been going on there. It has to stop. Somebody told us 9 years ago or almost 10 years ago that in 3 months he'd stop Boko Haram. How are we doing today?
All right, let's look at the messages coming through. Remember, you can send your thoughts across 0809 440 981. Tony from Amuo says, Lagos Benin Highway is becoming a dead route. My neighbor's vehicle narrowly escaped the gunmen at Okada, Edo State. Funny enough, the authorities concerned are not doing enough to tame this menace of insecurity. Next headline comes from Vanguard. 71,459 Nigerians obtained Canadian citizenship within 19 years.
Considering the way Canada has become almost like the next stop for a number of Nigerians, I'm even surprised that it is only 71 odd thousand in almost 20 years. This is a historical record. I dare say if a graph is being plotted, you might find that the graph was relatively sedate for a while and then ramped up markedly from the year 2015, when the former President Buhari came in and began the current flight to utter incompetence and disaster that has characterized Nigerian governance in the past few years. So everybody has a right to decide how, who, where, how they want to live. So some Nigerians have made that decision. God bless them. But there always has to be a look at why do people decide to move. And some people have become American citizens, have become UK citizens, I imagine. So it's not just Canada. And I know Canada is celebrating because they certainly have certain characteristics that they look out for people who want to come to their country. They look for people who are going to add to their economy and their whole setting, their country. So they, I would say, are the net beneficiaries, and Nigeria the net loser when this happens. Again, people make their decisions. Nobody questions, nobody can or will question it. But we should sit back and understand for ourselves what moves migration. Visits, sure, anybody should visit anywhere and make a choice. But when people are becoming Canadian citizens, it also doesn't mean that they're living there. They become citizens and they may still, come back and forth. But I suspect in many cases, with the amount of effort it takes to migrate and become a citizen, people just, decide, okay, that's the place to be. They may come back later in their latter years, 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, and they may bring valuable things. But I'd like to have a country where there is something valuable to bring to, not literally a wasteland of poverty, misery, cholera, and other things. So let's thank God that well-trained home people, Nigerians with good home training, have gone to Canada to be ambassadors of the country. But let's also create a homeland that has dreams also living here, not dream dying. Somebody once told me that Nigeria is a place where dreams come to die. I argued vehemently against that statement. It hurts to hear. But the more I look at it, the more it seems to be. But I think, kudos to them. That's their choice. Let's hope that we can benefit from them ultimately, and not just in terms of remittances. I'm talking about whatever knowledge and experience that they have. I wish they bring it forward, and may they be good Nigerian ambassadors, because you know what? You know, where you go, they'll always ask you, where are you from? I'm a Canadian. No, where are you really from? So you better know you're a Nigerian and behave properly.
But just before we let this story slide away, I can't help but notice the story, the figures coming from India, Pakistan. I see them also having medals in this regard. Gold medal. India has the gold medal for the most immigration for citizens we found in this report we've got here. So it looks it's not a Nigerian thing.
Oh, not at all. But what's the population of India? What's the population of Nigeria? So, in terms of numbers, you might understand why more people. Indians, they're all around the world. They're certainly there in the UK. They're there in Google and other companies across the tech world in America. Definitely, they are there in Canada as well. And I'm sure in South Africa, the Indians are everywhere and doing great things. So it's not a bad, as I say, people have an absolute right to see what's up all around the world. Travel is one of the best education you can get. Curiosity can be, you can address your curiosity about other parts of the world by traveling and even becoming a citizen. That's fine. At the end of the day, be a good ambassador to your original nation. When you hear of Indians in America, you tend to think of the heads of the high-tech companies. Let Nigerians also be known as the best in whatever fields they choose. That's all I hope and expect. Well, we have good home training here. Let's show it anywhere we are in the world.
Well, those words certainly echoes the words of those famous eyelash line. He says, landlord, travel and see. But let's go over now to our next story here, where it talks about the Daily Trust newspaper talks about still migration, no visa ban on Nigerians. That's the Turkish ambassador or embassy in Nigeria, just giving us a clarification here. Why is this necessary?
Recently, there was news of how a relatively large number of Nigerians were deported from Turkey back to Nigeria. So, when that happens, people begin to wonder. Some people have conspiracy theories and all that. And, people are thinking, oh, is there now some shadow ban? It may not be announced formally, but it might be that anytime they see the green passport, they are less inclined to give, approval. Because there are claims that there have been restrictions from Ethiopia, from Turkey, and from the UAE. At a time, you could almost get a visa on arrival or even do e-visa applications for some of the countries. I know for UAE, for instance, when Dubai was our playground. But apparently, for a while now, you cannot just apply electronically. You must go to the embassy or consulate in person, and the processes have just been made much more complex. For the UAE, for instance, unfortunately, and I don't think uniquely, there have been a group of Nigerians who have given us a bad name, i.e., they have not exhibited the good home training a typical Nigerian has. I say this because when I was in the US, I remember in my office, one man saying, "Hello, AB, you are so polite. Are all Nigerians like that?" And of course, I said, absolutely. Every single Nigerian is exactly as polite as I am. Maybe I knew that wasn't the case, but it was my job to sell us properly so that they will be positively inclined towards the next Nigerian. Now, in UAE, we heard of some gangs that some of us, our own, were running. Gangs in the UAE. Are they forgetting that that country has cameras, technology, and everything? What a place to, if you want to do gang, come to Goza. Take on those terrorists and show us, come to wherever in Nigeria, come to my village. Don't go to those places that are so well set up. So I'm just saying, there is no official policy, but they have seriously made it. In fact, some have said that there is a racket when it comes to these visa applications, that some of these countries make the most of their consular IGR from the applications to them, because hundreds, if not thousands, if not early millions of Nigerians are applying, and the fraction of Nigerians approved is minuscule. So literally, it's like stealing candy from a baby. They're just getting money and approving only the very select few. All I'll say, it goes back to what I said. Again, the decision, the urge, the desire to travel is human. There is nothing unique about a Nigerian wanting to see and experience another part of the world, full stop. All I'm saying that the chances of the average Nigerian being approved would be enhanced if the country you're coming from took itself seriously. Then you'd find that other countries will take your citizens seriously. But when you hear about how you are getting cholera on the 1st of July, 2024, when you have been a country for 64 years, I'm sorry, you look like a joke on the world stage. And the person standing behind the glass in the embassy will wonder to himself whether he should reach out to you and hold your passports. He will hold gloves because you're wondering how healthy is this person coming from the outside. That's an exaggeration. But I'm saying if we take ourselves seriously, the possibility of our citizens being denied is reduced. It doesn't mean that every application will be approved. It just means that you might be seen in a better light. So we have the ultimate responsibility to make Nigeria and Nigerians better esteemed in the world stage, on the world stage.
All right, let's look at some messages coming through. Ajayi says the cholera epidemic spreading into the Kirikiri Correctional Center is not surprising given the overcrowded nature of the place. Governments must take prompt action to curtail the spread, as even the inmates have right to good health care. Anthony says, has there been a time we heard that importers of this cache of arms and ammunition seized each time by the customs were arrested and tried, made a public example? Does the government really have the political will to fight insecurity down to the roots? They can spend billions building their homes and buying for themselves cars and yachts, but they've never used till date. They've never used that for the deployment of technology in the fight against insecurity. They are never ready to expose some persons responsible for this menace. And this is my opinion. That message comes from Tony. Emeka says insecurity in all institutions are symptoms of a failed state. Ladili says Indians are in Nigeria as well. Abbas Oladapo says, just as Minister Wike said, some of us have decided not to see anything good in the country. We keep reading out the bad, and it appeared like our national story is that of gloom. The same reasons people are migrating from Nigeria is why people are moving out of some of the supposedly saner climes. Nigeria has always had her own issues, and it isn't something that can be pushed directly to the time of Buhari and now. God bless Nigeria. And another message from Gilbert. Gilbert says, on the gunmen abduction incident along Shagamu Road, this particular area has been an unsafe area for the past 2 years, but our security operatives are seemingly not proactive, coupled with the fact that they are overstretched. Local information and planning is key to preventing further similar attacks. Abuja Kaduna train kidnap incident on my mind. You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. Do stay with us. The conversation continues shortly.
Right here on Smooth 98.1.
Music is like soul healing vibes that transcend you with lyrical grooves, lifting you into love as you flow through. My music is frequency. Love music, love life. You're listening to my music.
This is
Yeah,
Jonah
you bring
Joe,
us in.
and you're listening to Smooth Breakfast
Sorry?
Show.
We're Smooth 98.1 FM. It's still freshly pressed, and we've got AB helping us break down the papers this morning in terms of the headlines, and also got your side also of the story in terms of the headline. Interesting, and we see floods of messages coming in. We'll be reaching out to pick them up shortly. But let's go over to the Nation newspaper, where the NNPCL denies lubricants for fuel petrol claim. What's going on in this story, AB?
Apparently, somehow, it emerged that would-be buyers of petrol were being prodded to first, or as a condition, prerequisite for buying petrol, they were being forced to purchase lubricants or engine oil. And the NNPCL at the corporate level has categorically denied this. So maybe it is not the policy of the NNPC, but evidently this story emerged from people's experiences. It's not good enough to just deny it at the corporate level and assert that that is not your policy. I agree. I don't know where anywhere in the corporate charter they said that people selling at the stations should hawk, lubricants and other things. However, the headline of this story is not NNPCL denies that motorists are forced to collect a free meal each time. So clearly something happened at the points of sale. It is for the NNPC, and they have announced that they shall do an investigation. Evidently, according to this, allegedly, some of those people at the stations have been either trying to improve the volume of sale to make themselves look good, or just do a power show, which tends to happen when people are crowding at any fuel station and are insisting that people buy these products. So those people should be investigated. Those who say it happens should be encouraged to come and say exactly where it happened, and they can point out who made that because it might be something where you are not ordered, but there's an implication that if you don't do it, I won't sell you fuel. Or if you can only buy 5,000 naira, but if you buy oil, I can fill up your tank. There are these ways that this manipulation can go on. I haven't experienced it, but again, I say nobody said you are being forced to get 2,000 naira credit on a network of your choice at every NNPC station. So something concerning a forced purchase of lubricants might have occurred. NNPC investigate, give us results, make it snappy. We don't need more than 7 days for this.
All right, let's move on to the next headline. And this one comes from this day. Troops arrest 47 rail track vandals, intercept vandalized irons in Kaduna.
First of all, can I please beg this day to use a grammatical check? There is no such thing as vandalized ions with an S. It is a shame that a paper of record in Nigeria has that kind of typo. That said, kudos to the Nigerian army, who in Kaduna, while on a routine patrol, discovered, intercepted, and arrested 47 rail track vandals. You will recall that in the past 2-3 weeks and months, there have been these situations where trains have been derailed between Abuja and Kaduna. And the first time you might have said, oh, how unfortunate. But it happened back to back, week one, week two, and it became evident, or I began to suspect that this is not normal. This looks like a deliberate situation of sabotage. And I say that because I have ridden these trains. These are some of the most comfortable, excellent means of traveling in Nigeria right now. They're air conditioned, they are relatively comfortable sitting positions. Everything about them is excellent. So for people to now take them on, especially because the road between Abuja and Kaduna was so bad, and then have this situation where, unfortunately, remember some months, years ago, an entire train was, attacked. A few people were killed during the attack, and others stayed in captivity for months. Now, they have now set up the train, and then people have vandalized in tracks. I'm so happy that they caught those 47 people. They say that they were acting on the orders of one Alhaji Babawo, who is at large. Whoever he is, he must be tracked down and brought to book. He must have a house he lives. He must have a favorite food, a favorite fast food and family. He must be found, and he must tell us how he was sending these people out, under what authority he thinks he can vandalize national infrastructure, and how he was using the thing. But whatever the case, kudos to the Nigerian military. They have cracked at least one arm of this challenge. People should have a sense that you can get on that train from point A to point B and get there safely. Kudos to our security forces and Nigerian military. They deserve the ultimate praise.
So AB leaves a flat bouquet of flowers to be picked up by the Nigerian troops this morning, so they would get it this morning. But let's go over to messages as we wrap up now. We've got Peter from Festac saying, with the number of police stop points on this same road, we are not supposed to hear of the abduction of citizens. What is the NSA doing? By now, the 7 chiefs shouldn't be on their jobs. What a shame. And then I get Nee's thoughts coming across saying the insecurity in our land is as a result of insecurity on the part of insincerity of in part of our political leaders. The issue can be tackled using satellite imaging. Funny enough, we claim to have satellite. To buy a satellite, it seems to be useless. That's what he's saying. And then Fabian will tell us this. Well said, AB. Canada and other countries open their doors to those who will add value to them. I await when our leaders will appreciate Nigerians who are adding value here and create a more enabling environment for them. Fabian from Ekbe. And we go over to find Bolu's thought here. Bolu says, AB just delivered a world-class lecture or short talk about why Nigerians and Nigeria have to do better. I hope this could be replayed on many public spaces. Kudos to AB and God bless Nigeria. Maybe you meant to say Nigeria, hail Nigeria at that point. But Dan Okudwa says, well, it's becoming scary traveling through Shagamu-Benin Expressway. It's surprising that this still happens despite the dozens of police personnel that line the route. That's what Ben Okudwa would tell us this morning. What is Orob saying this morning? As interesting as Abacha was as an individual, he said, and I quote, no, we've not been, this cannot be traced to him. So
there is no verification that he actually said this, either in writing or verbally.
Just like those Mugabe quotes you see every time back in the days before Mugabe passed on.
Oh, the Buddha quote. All right, Dakwa says 71,000 Nigerians migrating to Canada in 19 years. That sure is a sight for sore eyes. How do we change the status quo reputation and start promoting correct ideals with values which will enhance the kind of society and environment that is conducive for sustainable development? Charity starts in the house, and thinking that some people or geographic location is better all amounts to wishful thinking and paranoia. Abbas says, FYI, it's difficult to get Nigerian visas. Our country is not a joke, and that's why you see a lot of people coming in. Hotels are fully booked almost on a daily basis. Airlines are always fully booked, and you wonder if the stories of how bad Nigeria is just a media thing. Not to even talk of the different Owambes. God help us. And this message from Sound says, what happened to the Lagos food palliative centers that were announced some months ago? Have you tried to get some and then you didn't get some? Let us know if you tried. and you didn't remember, only people that actually need this will actually get it. So if you don't need it, you probably would have to go out of your way to investigate to find if it's actually available. Another message from Ibrahim Zakari. He says, when Nigerians are ready for a long and lasting change for a better governance, we would know. Kenyan youth are a good example. Ifako, okay, Kule from Ifako says, why did AB return to Nigeria from the US? I want to know, considering the issues around here. We have 4 NNPC outlets around where I usually buy fuel. None has ever asked me to buy any lubricants. And let's see. I saw another message, and this is the last one we can take this morning. If we can't secure ordinary rail lines, how can we deal with terrorists? Well, we appreciate the good men and women of the forces who actually intercepted and broke that criminal gang operating.
And for those who are still keen on finding out why AB returned from from the US to Nigeria, agree, disagree with him, you know. So AB,
tell us.
Plug out.
Well, I hope to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. It's as simple as that. I may not be able to solve all of Nigeria's problems, but if I can solve one Nigeria's problem, I've done part of my life's work. It's really that simple.
Agree, disagree?
Yeah, we can discuss it more at AB Bozimo on all platforms.
All right. Thank you so much, AB. Thank you for listening. Thanks for your messages. Thank you, AB, for being on the show this morning. As always, do you stay with us?